Alright, welcome back everybody. This is Low Life Plays here with another deck tech. One of my ones I haven't played in a minute, but I had a chance to bust it out over the weekend. So this is Myrel, Shield of Argive. Essentially what she's trying to do is overwhelm the board with soldiers, and her first ability reads, during your turn, your opponents can't do anything. They can't cast spells or activate abilities of artifacts, creatures, or enchantments. So you pretty much just have a Grand Abolisher in the command zone, and then whenever she attacks, you create X11 artifact soldier tokens based on how many soldiers you control, which will be a lot. And then I have this cool one drawn from Card Kingdom. Just, have stuff come up. So those are my tokens, and before I jump into more of the deck, I always like to remind everybody, if you're enjoying this content, just like the video, subscribe, or comment down below if there's any cool soldiers that I might have missed, or you think would be a better fit. So we already went over Myrel. She's great. This is going to start into protection. So she already protects herself on your turn, but how are you going to protect her on other turns? Boromir is a good option. He's an awesome soldier. He's a vigilance 3/3 for 3, and whenever an opponent casts a spell, if no mana was spent to cast it, counter that spell. You sack him to make your board creatures you control gain indestructible, and then the ring tempts you. Really in here for that indestructibility trigger. Knight Captain of Eos, you'll be making so many soldier tokens that you can really take advantage of his pay 1 white sack a soldier, prevent all combat damage with Bedell. So you can block a lot, and all you'll ever lose is one soldier. It's pretty nice, and he comes into play bringing 2 white soldier tokens. So it kind of makes up for the fact that he himself is not a soldier, he is a knight, but he's welcome here. Rescue Retriever, it's a dog soldier baby. It has flash, and then essentially what you're really in here for is its second line of text, where you prevent all damage that would be dealt to other attacking soldiers you control, so it's a nice combat trick. It's also just a nice passive buff, because when it ETBs, you put a +1/+1 counter on each other soldier you control. So he's a really good combat trick, essentially, but also just has that damage prevention. Then we run Flawless Maneuver. We want to run Myrel out as soon as we can most times, so it's good to just have this, where creatures you control gain indestructible. And then same thing here, really running it for the indestructibility, but the flexibility here of if you cast it during your main phase, giving them +1/+1 in vigilance can also be kind of nice sometimes. We're running Lightning Greaves, good old Greaves, put those right on Myrel. Whisper Silk Cloak, I'm running this because she needs to attack. Mine is pretty damaged. I don't know where another one is. But either way, essentially just equip creatures unblockable and has Shroud. I mean, I'm really in here for the unblockable part, but everything else is nice. And then Bastion Protector. It's a soldier, and it gives Myrel +2/+2 and indestructible. So it's just a nice little passive buff, helps protect her. Running Soul Ring, Arcane Signet, as some classic mana rocks. We're also running Strixhaven Stadium. So one of the main reasons we're running this is because whenever a creature deals combat damage to you, remove a point counter from Strixhaven Stadium, but whenever we deal combat damage, we put a point counter on it. And then if 10 or more point counters on it, remove all of them, and then you can just make somebody lose. So I've been able to lose because you have such a large board state, you often can swing in, and it's a combat damage trigger that makes more 1/1 soldiers for you to then just block with. So it's pretty easy, pretty good stuff. Pearl Medallion, we're mono white, might as well have it out here. Weathered Wayfarer, it's just a good ramp in mono white, right? It's a one mana 1/1, and then you can search your library for a land card, reveal it, put it in your hand. You can only use this if opponents control more lands than you, but it's nice to have access to that. Defiler of Faith, this is a new edition that I've been trying out. I opened some Dominaria United a little bit ago, and this seemed like it could be a good fit. It's a 5 mana 5/5 vigilance, so it's a nice body. But it has this really cool ability as an additional cost for white permanents. It essentially converts it to Phyrexian mana. So it helps you can pay life instead of white mana. It can only reduce the colored mana pips though. But also, whenever you cast a white permanent, it also makes soldier tokens. So that's kind of neat. Ballyrush Banneret. This one makes Kithkin spells and soldier spells you play cost 1 less to play. That's really we do have some other cost reducers, but they're in other sections because they also do other things that are prioritized higher. This is going to be card draw. Really powerful soldier here is Firemane Commando. It's a flying 4/3 for 4, and whenever you attack with 2 or more creatures, draw a card. But it also decentivizes people from hitting you, with whenever another player attacks with 2 or more creatures, they draw a card if none of them attacked you. So that's nice. And then Keeper of the Accord. This one's just a super valuable, value piece for soldiers. It's a 4-cost 3/4 at the beginning of each opponent's end step. If they control more creatures than you, make a soldier token. If they control more lands than you may search your library for a basic plains card put into play. Really helps keep you on the up and up if other people on their turns are getting a little bit higher or ahead. It can even ramp you. It's pretty fun. It's really good. Rumor Gatherer, I wish it was a soldier, but she's so good that we're just going to have to deal with it. Whenever another creature enters the battlefield under your control, scry 1 if it's the second time. This ability is triggered this turn, draw a card instead. So you can scry, draw, and then scry more. It's really fun. Really good with Myrel making a ton of tokens. Mentor of the Meek, same kind of thing. You know, you're going to be making a lot of 1/1s with a lot of different abilities, and you can pay 1 to draw cards each time you do it. Really cool. Skull Clamp, you're making 1/1s. If you're making 1/1 tokens, throw Skull Clamp in, just draw some cards. It's just so much value. Really nice stuff. Takazia's Welcome. It's kind of like a Rumor Gatherer in a way, where essentially you're just, once per turn. That's the only clause here is the last line. This ability triggers only once each turn, but whenever one or more creatures with mana value 3 or less ETB draw, just a nice passive draw. Smuggler's Share. This one, I'm kind of on the fence out. I really haven't ever had it do a ton, but it has potential to do a lot. Just because being mono white, it's nice to have access to if there's a green player that's just like making a ton of mana or whatever, or making a ton of lands. You make treasure tokens for each opponent who had 2 or more lands ETB under their battlefield this turn. And then at the beginning of each end step, draw a card for each opponent who drew 2 or more cards. So it has a lot of potential, and it's only 3 mana. So I still have it in here. I might take it out if there's another really cool soldier that comes out soon, or we'll see. This gets us into removal. So we have a lot of removal that's stapled to a soldier, which is really nice. So we have a 2/2 for 2 with Vigilance. You can sack it to destroy target legendary permanent that's an artifact, creature, or enchantment. So it has some flexibility to it. Really good. Catapult Master, baby. He's a 5 mana 3/3. You tap 5 untapped soldiers, just exile a creature. It's pretty fun. And I mean, Myrel can make so many soldiers. It just gets so crazy. I mean, you're doubling every turn. It's so fun. Cathar Commando, very flexible. You can flash her in and she can blow up enchantments or artifacts. Really good. Intrepid Hero, this guy, you just tap him to destroy a creature with power 4 or greater. He's out here just slaying. A fool knows fear, a hero shows no fear. Hour of Reckoning, this is Convoke, so you can tap all your little soldiers to help pay for this. It does cost 7, but you destroy all non-tokens, so it's a wipe that can really set you ahead above the other players, that's for sure. And then we got some single target removal, classics with Swords and Path. We got Stroke of Midnight in here. We got some more wipes with Farewell. This can really just help exile things, artifacts, creatures, enchantments, and graveyards. It's just a catch-all that we like to have. Martial Coup. This is another kind of one-sided one, right? Where normally you're gonna pay for 7, you're gonna pay 5 into the X, and you make X 1/1 white soldiers, and if X is 5 or more, destroy all other creatures. So it can really set you ahead because you have a lot of buffs that are gonna be right here that are enchantment based. So your 1/1s won't really be 1/1s. Pretty cool. Creature tokens you can have +1/+1 in Vigilance. That one's really nice. Prava of the Steel Legion. This one's really good because as long as it's your turn, your tokens get +1/+4, which was just crazy to me. And then it also has a passive ability of pay 4, create soldiers, which is just nuts. Inspiring Leader. This gives Myrel the ability to give creature tokens +2/+2. Making her 1/1s into 3/3s. Pretty fun. Vanquisher's Banner, choose a creature type, we're choosing soldiers. And then they get +1/+1, and then whenever you cast a soldier, they're just replacing themselves to draw cards. Heraldic Banner, I was thinking about putting this in ramp, but really it's in here, it's 50-50. It's in here because you choose white, and then it can tap for white, but it also gives your creatures of the chosen color +1/+0, so that's nice. Daru Warchief. This is soldiers cost 1 less to play, which is nice, but it also gives them +1/+2. So really enjoy that. One of the better ones here is Captain of the Watch. It's a vigilant 6-costed 3/3, but it comes into play and makes 3 1/1 white soldiers, and it buffs them, giving them +1/+1 in vigilance, which is super good. Field Marshal, this one is one of the more powerful ones too. Just being a 3-costed 2/2 that gives them +1/+1 and first strike. This guy is a very powerful soldier lord. Really good. Honor of the Pure. Classic white enchantment. White creatures just get +1/+1. 2 mana, really easy to get it out, really fun. Valiant Veteran. I like this guy. He buffs all soldiers by +1/+1. Ideally, we want to have more soldier buffs because the tokens that Myrel makes are colorless. So there's some differences between the overlap of the soldiers that are white that you make, as well as the ones that Myrel makes that are colorless. So soldier buffs are prioritized higher. But either way, you can also pay 5 and exile him from your graveyard to do a little buff. Put +1/+1 counter on each soldier you control. So he's value in play and value off play. Veteran Swordsmith, just really good. Other soldiers you control get +1/+0. Glorious Anthem. Creatures you control get +1/+1. Really nice there. Charismatic Vanguard, he's a test play right now. Not super sure if I like him or not. I do like the idea that, he's a soldier, he's an even-costed little guy, and he has potential to, later on when I have a huge board, just buff them based on however much mana I can make. Thalia, Guardian of Thraben. Just a little hard to see with the halo foiling, but it's super pretty. But essentially, she's just in here because she's an awesome, awesome soldier. 2-costed 2/1 first strike, and she makes all non-creature spells cost 1 more. A lot of what we're doing is creature-based, so very beneficial for us. And why have 1 Thalia when you can have 2 Thalias? So we have the other one. First strike and creatures and non-basic lands your opponents control ETB tapped, which can really help us if they are trying to deploy blockers or just trying to, it can really slow everybody else down. Preeminent Captain, really powerful card. It's a first striking 2/2, but whenever he attacks, you just put a soldier creature from your hand tapped and attacking. That's super strong. Cathar's Crusade, this one is a pain to upkeep, but it's so strong in this deck that it's worth it. So whenever a creature enters the battlefield, put a +1/+1 counter on each creature you control. Really strong. Just make sure to bring a whole box of dice. Adric, Master Tactician. This one, he's just a really strong soldier. He's a first striking 3/4, and whenever he and at least 3 other creatures attack, you choose how things block and which creatures block and how they block. So really strong. Anafenza, Kintree Spirit. She's just a strong, this is our section of really just kind of beaters that are just value soldiers. She's just a good soldier in the way that she's a 2-costed 2/2, but whenever another non-token enters the battlefield under your control, you bolster. So choose a creature with the least toughness, and put a +1/+1 counter on it. So it's really fun because, if you're making 1/1s, you're just bolstering 1/1s. Super good. Warden of the Inner Sky. I like this because, we don't have a lot of flying, so it's difficult to deal with. So having a soldier who could fly and get vigilance pretty easily and just has a passive scry effect would be nice. Siege Veteran. This one's in here just because, at the beginning of combat on your turn, you can just put a +1/+1 counter on something. But also, whenever another non-token dies, it replaces it with a token. So that's really good. And then we're going to make some more tokens with Elspeth, Sun's Champion. So everything she does is great for us. Her +1 makes 3 white soldier tokens, which is really strong. Her -3, destroy all creatures with power 4 or greater, really good. A lot of our stuff normally sits at like the 3 power range. If we have 1 or 2 buffs out, or we can just be making bodies. And then her -7 is just awesome. Like I said, having flying is really good, and getting an emblem that just buffs and gives flying is so strong. Hero of Bladehold, really powerful. It's a knight, so it's not a soldier, but she kind of has the same thing as some of our other knights, where she gives battle cry, which is really strong, and also whenever she attacks, she makes soldiers that are tapped and attacking, so she can make more guys. Brimez, King of Oroscus. This guy is so strong, and his art is so pretty. But either way, Brimez, he's a vigilant 3/4 for 3. And then whenever he attacks, make a soldier that's vigilant that's attacking. Whenever he blocks, make a 1/1 with vigilance that's blocking that creature. So, super good. Grand Crescendo, really, really strong. It helps protect, but also makes a lot of tokens. So you can create X 1/1 green-white citizen creatures. So no synergy there, just makes tokens. But the big thing is creatures you control gain indestructible. So it could just be a 2 mana indestructibility, instant speed protection. But you can also just dump whatever mana you have to make 1/1s. So maybe you could block and kill something too. So it's really nice. Horn of Gondor, it's awesome. It's a 3 mana. When it ETBs, it brings a body with it. It's a soldier too. And you pay 3, create X 1/1 white human soldier tokens, where X is the number of humans you control. So you can just make a ton more. It's just a ton more soldiers. So this guy, this is just a value soldier, right? It's a 1/1 for 2. It has flash, and when it comes in, it brings a body too. So it's 2 for 1. Just making more soldiers, getting that early board presence. That way, when you do cast Myrel and you're able to swing with her, you just want more bodies, so you make more. Hazda Marshal, really strong. You know, whenever he and at least 2 other creatures attack, you make another soldier. This one has lifelink though, so that's kind of fun. Call the Coppercoats, really strong. You know, this it costs 2 mana to cast for each target beyond the first, but for 3 mana, you choose any number of target opponents, and then you create X 1/1 white human soldier tokens, where X is the number of creatures that opponent controls. So this can just get out of control so fast. I mean, on turn 5, you play Myrel, turn 5, and then you have 5 mana on that turn after Myrel's down. And then you just call to Coppercoats 2 people, and then on your turn 6, you would swing, and you would have so many soldiers. It's a really, really powerful card. Precinct Captain, just value. First strike, whenever he deals combat damage, you make soldiers, so really good there. Halo Fountain, this could be a win condition for us. You know, I love the art on this version, but essentially you pay a white, untap a tapped creature you control, make a token. Or you can pay 2 and untap 2 tapped creatures, draw a card. Or you can pay 5, untap 15 tapped creatures you control. You just win. Which, like, honestly, getting to 15 tokens is not crazy. Most times, when you're playing Myrel and you play Halo Fountain, it's difficult. You know, it won't normally make it a turn cycle around, because you probably already have the tokens you need. So, really good. Then we get into lands. So we're running a lot of basics. So our non-basics are Myriad Landscape, Ash Barrens, Windbrisk Heights, Karoo, Ameria, Minas Tirith, and then out of the new Modern Horizons 3, we're running Monumental Henge. So, you know, a lot of these are pretty staples, especially Ameria, the Sky Ruin. So if you have 7 or more planes, you may return target creature from your graveyard to the battlefield, and that's every upkeep. Super busted in a mono white deck. Or really any deck that can just, you know, if you have enough planes, it's just so strong. But this one's new, so I'll review it. You know, Monumental Henge, it comes in tapped unless you control planes. You pay 4, you play 2 and a white, or 2 and 2 white. You tap it, look at the top 5 cards, reveal a historic card from among them, put it in your hand. So I think we have enough artifacts and legendaries to run it. And I mean, either way, it's just a land that has extra value in mono white. So that's what we're running there. So we're running about 7 just flexible lands. You could probably run more. All right, so we're going to be running a lot of planes here. 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we're running 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30. So we're running 30 basic planes. So we're running about 37 lands. And, you know, I think you probably could cut a land or 2, but it's worked pretty well for me. Because, I mean, the biggest thing is just making sure you hit Myrel. So, that is our Shield of Argive deck. Super fun, really powerful. You know, if you just want a, like, go-in heavy combat deck, she's great for that. You know, she buffs a lot of things. She makes it so people can't mess with you on your turn, which is one of the biggest problems that you get with like a combat-based deck, is people are always waiting to use their interaction until your turn, but this forces them to use it before they even know what you're going to do. So I really like it. I think the only thing I might change is maybe take out a land, or maybe take out one of the lower playing soldiers and try and get more haste enablers or protection cards for Myrel. Maybe like Swiftfoot Boots or something. But outside of that, I think it's a really fun deck. Super good. Plus I get to use these little soldiers, so that's always nice too. So if you enjoyed it, please leave a like, leave a comment, subscribe. But outside of that, I'll see you guys in the next Deck Tech. Bye!